name is Jim Matchett, and in 1973 I traveled to several countries after spending 2 years in Thailand in the Peace Corps. The first country, Nepal. From Kathmandu, I took a bus to Pokhara, where I planned to go trekking. My destination was Jomson, near the border with Tibet, a distance of about 75 miles. I stayed in lodges along the way, which were actually people's houses, dinner and breakfast included. About halfway, we entered the valley of Kali Gandaki, the deepest valley in the world, with two peaks over 26,000 feet on either side, Annapurna and Dhaulagiri. I also met John, a volunteer, Peace Corps volunteer, who was part of an expedition to climb Dhaulagiri. In 1973, the only way to reach the villages I passed through was on foot or by horseback. But now there is a dangerous road which connects Pokhara and Jomson. India. From Kathmandu, I flew to Patna. I needed to get some money, so I hired a bicycle rickshaw to take me to the bank to change money. When we got there, the bank clerk asked how much money I was being charged by the rickshaw driver. After I told him, the two got into a big argument, and the driver left in a huff. That's when the bank clerk told me that I could not change money there. I would have to go to the Bank of India. After spending most of the day getting my money changed, I went to the train station. I thought my train would be gone, but it was still there. After getting to Benares, a holy city, I had another adventure. A storekeeper I met warned me that I had to be careful about other stores. I might be cheated. Sure enough, it happened. I bought a silk piece supposedly inlaid with gold, but it was not. My storekeeper friend was upset that I hadn't followed his advice, but not to worry, he would get my money back. We would go to court. Thus, one day in India was spent in Indian court, but I got back my $35. I saw the fabulous Taj Mahal in Agra and went to New Delhi. It was so very hot. There were vendors on the street selling water in glasses. I knew it was not safe, but I had to have some water. Thus, diarrhea was my companion from then on. From New Delhi, I took a train to Bombay, which is now Mumbai, and flew to my next destination, Cairo, Egypt. Before I could get into the country, though, I had to buy cigarettes for the customs inspector at the duty-free shop. Of course, I had to go to Giza to see the Sphinx and the pyramids, and I did so. We couldn't climb the pyramids, but we could hire a camel to take us around, so that's what I did. After Cairo, I flew to Athens in Greece. I was excited to be in Greece because we had studied about it in high school. Saw the Acropolis with the Parthenon, then traveled to Delphi, where ancient Greeks went to consult the oracle to make important decisions in their life. A tour of the Peloponnesian Peninsula took me to Olympia, home of the first Olympic Games, Mycenae, home of the King Agamemnon, who waged war against Troy after his brother's wife Helen was taken away. All this written in Homer's The Iliad. And Old Corinth, where the Apostle Paul preached. Finally, stayed at the Greek island of Mykonos in the Aegean Sea. In India, I had bought a ticket that would take me to 3 cities: Cairo, Athens, and Munich, and this was my last stop. In Munich, I enjoyed the Glockenspiel clock tower and the Deutsches Museum of Science and Technology. Best of all were the Munich beer gardens, having sausage and beer, so delicious. From Munich, I began hitchhiking. It was safe to do that in 1973. I hitched through the Black Forest to Heidelberg and Bonn, and then over to Belgium. I remember one guy telling me how strange the Germans were in Bavaria. My pictures of Germany did not survive, so these are from the internet. I spent 2.5 weeks in London. During my time there, I saw many of the main tourist attractions, such as Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square, and more. Also visited many museums, such as the British Museum and the Natural History Museum with its replica of a giant blue whale. I did not plan to spend that much time in London. Here's what happened. Some guys picked me up at Dover and let me stay at their house in London. I went to a travel agency and booked a charter flight to New York that would leave on the weekend. When I got to the airport, the flight had been canceled, so I showed up back at the house of my British friends. They found me huddled up at the front porch. There was not another charter flight until the next weekend, this time to Los Angeles. Got to the airport, overbooked. Some people got kicked off. I was one of them. I don't remember if I went back to that house or not. I know I spent at least one night at Hyde Park. Went back to the travel agency thoroughly steamed. Finally, they got me on a regular flight, a return trip ticket that would take me to Los Angeles and San Francisco. I finally got out of London. I flew from London to San Francisco. While I was at the bus station, two policemen approached me. They were looking for a soldier who was AWOL, so they asked me for identification. All I had on me was my Thailand Peace Corps ID. They looked at it, and one asked the other, "Do you read Thailand?" Anyway, they let me go, and after a long bus ride, I arrived in Seattle. I was in time to be best man at my brother's wedding in my hometown of Ephrata, Washington. I also got treated for my diarrhea, and I gave the hospital lab people a thrill as they got to see bacteria they had never seen before. Later, I blew up the picture of me on a camel and gave it to relatives. Thus, for years, I was known as the guy on the camel. That guy thanks you for watching.